This week, Joel Sardi, a soldier, served in the infantry, deployed to Afghanistan, came home without a scratch. Then a fall at a venue in 2014 left him a quadriplegic, and everything changed overnight. We get into that night, the years calling back from the dark, and how he built a life on the other side of it. As a husband and a father of two beautiful girls, and as a bloke who now works supporting veterans through their toughest challenges. And on the speaking circuit, where he challenges every room he's in to check their perspective. You'll soon learn this guy is an absolute inspiration. And to be honest, we all need a little bit of Joel Sardi in us when times get tough. So without any further ado, let's get into it.
Obviously, yeah, we're on. So, whatever. Yeah, 3, 2, 1, go.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to Driven. Obviously, next episode. As I said, I'm really pumped. Joel Sardi, the one and only Joel Sardi, and mate, lots to talk about. And again, I wanted to say this to you. I've not done, I researched everyone, obviously, but I've actually not done a lot with you because I wanted to hear it kind of live and fresh and all that. So I've done enough to sort of know who you are and what's going on and a little bit of your background. And, we've spoken a little bit about it. But, I sort of purposely did that. Keen to go into it. And if I missed anything, let me know. But I guess I wanted to start and sort of say a bit of a different angle, and rather than where'd you come from, where'd you live, where'd you grow up. I want to start with today and just say, walk me through your morning. So how you got here today. It's different, obviously, to a lot of other people, and I want to know. So from your eyes opening up this morning, walk me through your routine.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks for having me first on, and happy birthday to Leah. I know it's her birthday today. That's the real boss of Hamo, if you're asking.
Yeah, she is the boss.
So I guess my morning this morning, it's actually a good morning to describe because this morning was quite complex in terms of what a quadriplegic needs. So, we don't go to the toilet every day, every 2 days generally. So Kara comes in 6 o'clock, bang, on the toilet, sit there maybe an hour, shower, dressed. Actually took a while to get dressed because all our washing's away at the moment, so I had limited wardrobe to choose from, and then that's always difficult. Yeah, don't worry, that's curated by Elisa and Esme. But the morning is difficult because getting dressed in bed, you're not able to see. I can't really see the wardrobe, so I just got to, what do I wear? What do we get? And then try it on. If it doesn't fit or anything, got to get back in bed and try it back on. Because obviously getting dressed in bed is easier than getting dressed in the chair. Then obviously getting into the chair, morning is ready to start. Go out, breakfast, pack my car. My carer helps me with stuff like putting laptop away in the bag and basically packing everything that I would generally pack for the day. And that includes preparing for later on in the day if it gets cold. So because I can't regulate my temperature, I've got to prepare for, is it windy? So I've got to pack a scarf. Is it going to be really cold? I've got to have a hood. Like jumpers and sweaters don't do it. So hood that I can throw over the head, plus the puffer, North Face, because it's not the brand, but the quality of it, because I need to remain as warm as possible because as a quadriplegic, we can't regulate temperatures. But then I think the best part of my day, Will, was getting in the car that's modified for me to drive, which I'm sure we'll get to in a moment, and turning on the heater to full blast and having it on full blast from Eltham to Malvern, and no one in the car complaining about how hot it is.
Temperature controlled.
Yeah.
I love it.
Elisa always says it's like a butterfly enclosure in here because I love it hot because I can't regulate, right? Yep. So the warmer the better. And then, pulling up here, getting in here was quite easy because there was a lift coming upstairs and you guys met me here and that was my day. I mean, that's in a nutshell.
Yeah. And then, obviously that's monumentally different to a lot of people. And this morning I was similar, but nowhere near the same. I was just stressing about getting everything in line, and I guess comparatively, your morning and my morning, our levels of what we deal with and what's hard is different, and know what you know. But it's I think it's cool to sort of understand that what you go through, and that's a normal day for you. That's a Thursday or a Thursday,
Yeah. Thanks, mate.
No, it's good, and I guess quick question. What year did your accident happen?
So my accident happened in 2014, so it'll be 12 years ago this August.
2014. Let's go back then and say pick a Thursday before the accident.
Yeah.
What are we looking at? What's your day there? What are you doing?
So I was living in Adelaide. I was a soldier in 7RAR on the 7th Battalion. And my day would be wake up in my own bed, get dressed, or dress myself, make myself breakfast, get in the car and drive to work by, I think it was maybe get there by 6:30 or 7. PT for 2 hours, go back to our hangars, get changed and get ready for a day. So throw the cams on and get ready for a day of normal work. Whatever that looked like, I can't recall exactly, but then we probably knocked off at around 4:30, went home, and it would have been a Thursday, so we would have gone to football training that night and team selection, whatever it may be. But I was actually injured, so my shoulder, it needed a reconstruction, and I wasn't able to play footy, but I was still going to training and hanging out with my mates. But never in a million years did I ever consider that was, one, going to be the last footy training I attended able-bodied, one, the last time I drove to footy training, and then the next day would be my last day ever wearing cams, and the last day that I would see my workplace, ironically the place that I miss now, but at the time I detested because of, your love-hate relationship with the workplace.
Yeah, and that was and the accident happened on a Friday, I assume?
It happened on the Saturday, so went to work on the Friday, obviously just like every Friday, knock off, go home, it's the weekend, thinking I'd be back Monday, and then never happened.
Take me up to it, and what happened? Like, where were you? What was the tale of the tape? What happened?
So it was a Saturday night. I had been at a footy game watching my local team, and they lost. It was the end of the season for them, so we went out to a place, my army mates, 2 different groups here. So footy mates, civvies, some army people in there, but then my housemates and army mates, we all went out together, and it was at a venue we'd been to many, many times before. And funnily enough, we're going to speak about this because I'm yet to this day to know exactly how it happened. But the reports, if we could sort of get the average of all 4 reports or 6 reports we've read, medical reports, I was 3 stories up and lost my balance and fell on the floor, and that's where I had my spinal cord injury. But essentially I was 3 stories up, and I apparently looked down, or I slid down, or I fell off the ledge, or someone pushed me, I don't know. And that's when I fell onto my back and had the spinal cord injury, becoming a quadriplegic. And that's, I guess, where the story starts or ends in terms of one identity finishing, one starting, however you want to look at it, maybe morphing into something else. But that was, 31st of August 2014. And that was where, I guess, my life of disability was introduced, a life of new perspectives, and I can now happily and safely, comfortably, humbly, confidently say that my life got better after I broke my neck.
Unbelievable. Yeah, and I think to sort of, the reason I wanted to start with this, but not just jump into it, was to highlight the differences between then and now, and then I want to cover everything in between, and your headspace, and then moving forward. I thought about this a lot when I was putting these questions together. I cannot figure out how I would react to something like that, and especially like fast forwarding a couple of days, or even initially, immediately. You're in hospital. I assume. You can't move. You're coming to terms with what's working, what's not. And I would think, for me, I can only project what I feel like. You'd probably be you would have, I imagine, in the darkest place you've probably ever been, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And just on that, you speak about, I don't know how you'd handle it. A lot of people say, if there's anyone that can handle it, it would be you. And I think that's a real throwaway comment, because it's a hypothetical, and it's a waste of time to be thinking about, if this was me, if that was this, because the what if is the biggest waste of time in our, let's say, in our vocabulary, because who knows what if? Don't worry about it. When you don't have a choice, when you have no choice but to wake up and move on, guess what you do? You wake up and you move on. So yeah, there was a lot of times where I thought, why me? And this is really hard, and how am I ever going to get back to a quote unquote good, happy life. But the first few days is just so many questions and a lot of, I guess, what would be naivety to think that I'll be fine. So you can't really take into account the fact that spinal cord injury, it's permanent. This is what you're going to be like for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
It's more a case of I'm different to everyone else. And I guess I was thinking this as well. I'm different to the person in the bed next to me because I'm Joel and I was a soldier and blah, blah, blah. You've got this narrative in your mind and like, I'll be fine. And that's what I was telling myself for a long time. And I was even trying to bullshit the doctors because they do tests to see, they put like a prong or a sharp needle or something on your feet, or traditionally where it would be numb if you had what they suspected like a C5 or a C4 spinal cord injury. And they'd be, rolling me over and pushing it down my back to say, can you feel this? And I could almost see them in the reflection of the mirror. And I'd be saying, yeah, I can feel it, to try and trick them to give me a different diagnosis, to also trick me, when in reality I knew I couldn't feel it.
So acceptance was really what you're battling.
Yeah, that was ultimate denial.
Yeah.
Ultimate denial. But yeah, realistically, that I didn't trick anyone.
Yeah. And then in terms of the injury, just to sort of, from a medical perspective, so you said C5?
Yeah, C5.
Okay. Explain what it, how does that work?
Well, you've got your cervical spine, thoracic spine, lumbar spine. So I've got the damage at the C5 level. You might be able to see the scar if I do that or that. It's about there.
Yeah.
So that's where one of the bones that broke when I did break my T2, 3, 4, 5, C2, C5 as well. So C at the top. When I broke the C5, it actually crushed. It was a burst fracture and it burst almost into my spinal cord, which stopped. So your spinal cord should run top to bottom, but because the burst fracture was, let's say, at C5, and the burst went into the spinal cord, that stopped the connection from top to bottom, as I've just explained, and that's why I'm a C5 quadriplegic. So you'll notice like my fingers or my hands are quite deformed, or as many young kids ask me, why do you have hands like cats? Because my fingers are curled. I don't have triceps and core strength, there's none there. So a lot of those symptoms, these are basically symptomatic of a C5 or a cervical injury.
Yeah.
And then you go T, which is where paraplegics enter the conversation, and then lumbar. And
so you've obviously got movement in your arms, right?
Yeah.
In some capacity. Is that and you still? So I would have thought, again, very uneducated on this, but quadriplegic, I was assume you no movement at all. And obviously there's levels of that. Is that right? Did that come back over time, or was that sort of, how did it progress, if at all?
Yeah, so you're right in thinking quadriplegic four limbs. It essentially, from my understanding, so I'm sure there's medical professionals in the comments or out there.
You can be wrong.
that will tell me otherwise, but hey, I'm living it, so cop that. So my understanding is a quadriplegic is damage to 4 limbs, so quad. Right. So damage to being there's no triceps. So I can do this because I've had a special surgery, which I can talk about as well. But generally, quadriplegia means damage to 4 limbs. Paraplegia, damage to 2 limbs.
And so you're, again, going back to that week after it happened. Do you call it an accident? How do you describe it?
Yeah, I think the common term people say after your accident. Yeah.
Who was around you, like your support network, like sort of walk me through what you were dealing with yourself, but then what people were around you and what they were doing to help you?
Yeah, so when I had my injury in Adelaide, obviously my family live here in Melbourne, not obviously, but my family live here in Melbourne. And from my understanding, from people's recollection and what they told me, is they were called in the early hours of, so the Sunday mornings. I had my accident Saturday night, let's say late, and then Sunday morning they were called to be told about it. They were on the first flight from Melbourne to Adelaide. So my mum, my dad, my uncle and my girlfriend Elisa flew across from Melbourne to be there. And when I came to after the surgery, it was a couple of days later, there was, the people at my bedside were those 4 people. And of course, being Army, my mates were like family. They were in every day, all the time. And there were people, bosses from work coming in to visit to check do the right thing, but to make sure I was okay. Little did I know they were speaking to mum and dad about all the complexities of the paperwork, what's required to transfer me from the Adelaide hospital to Melbourne in the Royal Flying Doctor Service and all the admin that goes along with it. There's a stack of it that we've got at home that documented everything, but early days there was a lot of that. And then when I was sent home, not home, but when I came across here to Melbourne, I was at the Austin and then the Talbot in Kew. That's where basically every person that I grew up with, all my mates, and there were just so many incredible people that I have, family and friends and teammates, let's just say as well, that were coming to visit me on the daily at the Talbot.
And so I'm sorry if this is in the detail, but this is just like me thinking through this. So how was the Army dealing with something like this? Like obviously it's a worst case scenario for Army members. Things can go pretty bad. So you think a complex situation or a big event like this, they'd be pretty well versed in. But this happened outside of hours in a normal civvy place. Like how did they just deal with that?
So the Army, let's just say as a body, a governing body, let's just say, or the overarching body, they were quite inexperienced. I know there was people with my injury from Special Forces world that happened on deployment. So I guess it was a very streamlined process in terms of how they were looked after. But for me, it was a grey area, and also it was one of the first, not the first, injuries to happen in the way it did. So they did the best they could, and I can tell you that their processes have improved incredibly from that time. But the thing that stood out most for when I was injured was the people. As you've got friends who have served. It's not so much the systems that kept me safe or happy or comfortable. It was the people. Yeah, it was the people who would come and visit, who would listen to me whine, who would be there when, as a quad, we can't control bowel or bladder. And before my injury, to piss or shit myself was like the most embarrassing thing. But it happened many times after my injury. And when it did, my mates would laugh about it and say, so what? Let's clean you up. Let's get you dressed.
Camaraderie.
Yeah, the camaraderie. And just knowing that I'd never be alone through a lot of the process was one of the best parts. So the people, not the system, was the biggest thing.
I wonder what your journey would have been like if you weren't in the Army. Like, and I do want to tie that back to this a little bit later, but it is a unique place, the Army, and like you said, I've got a couple of mates, very good mates, who have gone through, and they're unique cats, man. Like they're awesome people, and they're problem solvers, and they're nothing's a bother. And as I said, they're problem solvers. I think solution finders, and nothing's too big, nothing's too hard. Like that's the job, right? Brick walls in the way. How do we get in, around, under? Yeah, how do we adapt and overcome? Right? Yeah, 100%. And I think I assume, like how lucky to have those people around you, and not to discredit family and obviously support people as well. So assume, obviously that week after is a pretty dark spot for you, I imagine, in terms of coming to terms with it all. And obviously getting to a place where you could start to accept where you are, right?
Yeah.
How long did it take for you to start accepting that?
Years.
Yeah,
it took years. Yeah.
What shifted for you?
What shifted? I'd say a lot of things. There wasn't one single factor. There wasn't one single moment. It was a collection of relationships I'd formed, different belief systems, also achieving goals. I was sort of directionless for a long time after my injury, and I didn't have purpose. My identity, I was lost. For so long, my identity was the uniform I wore and the badge on my hat. While I aligned a bit too, because let's just recognise that I broke my neck when I was 22. So I was in those formative years, and I joined the Army straight after school. So up to that point, my identity was the Army. It was my job. It was my mates. It was everything I could do physically, to then not being able to even scratch my face my mother-in-law yesterday, and Elisa was saying yesterday, "Oh, do you remember when you were first injured? You couldn't even scratch your face." We were actually telling Esme and Luna, my kids, and I couldn't remember that. But I guess that's what it was like after the injury. So to go from wearing a uniform, holding weapons, whatever, and then not being able to scratch your face, those two contrasts was sort of what I compared my identity to. And then having a disability permit, so I was sort of tied to everything I couldn't do, and the stigma around disability was what my identity was, until I learnt I was more than that. And the people around me were amazing people, and the experiences I was having was because of my injury.
Yeah.
And eventually I'll get to it as well, traveling the world for rehab and meeting some amazing people. I would say part because of who we were becoming, but also because of my injury. And then there was a collection of events in America where I realised, shit, my life can be incredible. The fact I'm sitting down has nothing to do with it. It's got to do with what I'm making of the opportunities. And it was realising that, like coming to realise that the good things that were happening in my life were not because of the injury on its own, but it was because of a collection of things and the mindset that Elisa and I had applied to like everyday things.
Tell me more about that. And obviously, Elisa and your girls, and a bit of context rather, we know each other because our kids kinder, right? So, that's how that all started. And tell me about your family and on that, going to America and your family being next to you and everything from back then till now. Like, give me a rundown of, I don't know so much the complexities, but the journey of how your family's grown with you and this whole event.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything that we've achieved, it's been through the community, my family, and my friends. None of it's on my own. It just wouldn't happen, right? You start a business, you don't do it on your own. Yep. Maybe you do start it on your own, but then to grow it, you need a lot of people. Same concept with injury, with a family, whatever it may be. But there was a gym in America, in Carlsbad, so San Diego, called Project Walk, and it was the best at the time for neuro-based recovery. So through heaps of fundraisers and Elisa's incredible planning, meticulous planning, not mine, we got to America in 2016, and we got a taste of what it was like to, I guess, live independently, just us two, in another country, go to a gym every day where it was focused on what you can do. Let's get you out of the chair. Let's do some cool stuff. And Project Walk was almost like that first bit of the collection of things to start introducing what life could look like in terms of being happy and thriving. So we had a really good experience there, had a break in Italy, a real shithole called Tuscany. I don't know if
Must have been hard, mate.
Yeah, we did it really hard. But, I guess that was when I do my keynotes as well, I introduce that as a part of what can happen if you were changing perspective in terms of what you can't do versus what you can do. Because when I was first injured, laying in bed, I was looking at everything I was never going to do again, and traveling was one of those. I was 22, 23. All I wanted to do was travel and have fun, and whether it be on my own or with friends or with Elisa or with family, I just thought that was never going to happen. So to be able to get to America and land at LAX, looking at each other, realizing what we'd done, and then to get to Rome and get pushed around in this chair, it was really special. And, we learnt about what it is to travel in a cabin at high altitude when you can't control bowel or bladder. It was like, imagine a balloon getting squeezed. That was my bowel and bladder. And that was our first experience of traveling. And it was probably one of the worst experiences I've ever had being in public, but we got over it. We got through it. And it was pretty funny going through LAX in the Qantas pajamas because I had no other clean clothes, and then spending the next 6 hours in those getting to our accommodation. Again, not exactly how you'd want to spend a holiday or start a holiday, but we were there. We were doing it together.
Adapt and overcome.
Yeah. A shitty situation.
Yeah. I think it's funny to look at that, and then I guess that so many questions come to mind where it's like, you go to Tuscany or you go to I don't know, insert old town in Italy. There's no ramps anywhere, right? You got You know, like you've got cobblestone, you've got
Oh, yeah.
Roman roads that are 1,000 years old at
Yeah.
plus. Like, mate, you would have had to have some pretty sick suspension in the old chair, I reckon, but it would have been
There was none.
Would have been a bit rough.
There was no suspension. There was none, mate. There was none. It was a manual chair, and it was uncomfortable. And you eat all day over there. That's all we were doing. So cobblestone. I just felt like
Headaches.
the food just bouncing around in my guts all day. Lucky, shout out to my uncle, Eric. He was my donkey. He was just pushing me everywhere. Well, not traditionally how a donkey is, but he was behind me, pushing me up these cobblestone hills, down them, through the fields. It was great. It was such a fantastic holiday. It was a really good memory. And then to make it even better, Mum and Dad surprised us and flew over to see us. So, that memory there, I've got a photo of it where they surprised me in the hotel lobby. Like, one of the greatest memories of my life was when they walked through there and I was in my chair. We had all my family there, and there's a photo where I was actually hugging Dad. Surprised, like, what the fuck? What are you doing here?
Yeah, spun out.
Yeah, and one of the worst things that you could think, being in a chair traveling, well, not really, because I was over there and all my family was there, and it was a really, really, really good memory.
I want to. So your mindset through all these things. These you just. I mean, obviously you're used to this now in a way, and you've adapted to these situations. But I just keep coming back to mindset and how you've. And there's no combination to this. There's no book you read. There's no instruction manual. Now you're a quadriplegic. This is what you do. How did you, like, looking back? Was there strategies that you either built or learnt to deal with the tough days and the situations?
Oh, there was no strategy in place at the time. There was no, I guess, and there is now, but it came through having conversations with people who are smarter than me, more educated, probably goes hand in hand. I guess more wise, and they were able to give me strategies to apply as a habit over time, and then it became routine for me. But I mean, that's not to say that we don't have hard days in front of us, which there's going to be. But I think it was a moment of realization that I can go to bed tonight, wake up tomorrow jaded, and the sun's going to come up and it's going to go down, and I'll do the same thing. And that day that I just spent jaded and angry and hating the world, the world's going to keep turning.
Yeah,
we're in a world of 6 billion plus people. The world doesn't give a shit if Joel Sardi's having a bad day, but my life will still be going downhill, being poor. So it was a moment of just suck it up, realize that I'm in control of how I handle the situation, how I respond to it. So I can either be jaded and be a sook about it, or get my shit together and look at everything that we can achieve together and actually work at achieving it. And if I don't achieve that goal, well, at least I was doing something productive trying to get there and looking at the positives as opposed to the obstacles. And over time, incrementally, my life just got better and better. I still have the struggles and the hurdles of what quadriplegia brings to someone, but it's a lot easier to handle with the coping mechanisms I've got.
I was going to ask you a question that's pretty broad. If someone's listening right now who's had a similar injury, recently, but I'm not going to ask that. I'm going to say you right now go back in time and you roll up next to your bed in hospital that week after. What are you saying to yourself? Because it's the same thing.
So the guy in the bed to the guy in the chair would be saying, F off, get out of here, because that's not me in a chair. That's literally what I was doing to mentors when they'd come in. I'd tell them where to go, because in my mind it was, I'm not going to be in a chair. I'm not that person. I don't want to speak to someone. It was like that ultimate denial. So I think the person in a chair rolling up to Joel in bed, knowing what I know now, I would turn around and leave, because anything that I was telling that guy in bed would be redundant, or it would just be, blinds down. I'm not listening, because there's a lot of time where I need to process. There's a lot of time where that person needs to process and come to terms with everything. They don't need to hear about what their life's going to look like in 5 years. They need to accept what's happened to them. And until that moment, not a lot can be said that has effect or impact.
It's a journey, right?
Yeah. And it's self-led.
Yep.
Self-led. You can self-medicate. You can, I guess, not listen to people wiser and more educated. But then that leads you down a path of not very good outcomes.
Well, it's like anyone, even mental health journeys or injuries or anything like that. Like, yeah, you're probably right. When you're ready to listen, or you're even to yourself, like it just takes time, and you can't put a time on it, right?
Yeah.
And then you look back, and I'm sure you look back now, and you go, like you look at, I wouldn't say matured, but your journey's obviously matured, and you look back and you probably go, geez, like who was I back then, and how, you know, and it is a journey. You can't rush it, right? Amazing.
No, but then also, like, I was 22, so
yeah.
I mean, I was still. I mean, I'd like to think I'm still immature, maybe naive, but back then it was immaturity. So coming to learn what the world is, what people mean when they say things, or what's it mean if a situation is like the way it is. How can I react to get the best outcome?
Moving. Or segueing a little bit. This is fun stuff. I want to talk about this. The ADF. What you were doing. Take me back to the Defence Force. You were infantry, right?
I was
7 RAR. I think you said before.
Yep.
Walk me through your role. What you were doing. How did you join? What were you doing day to day?
Oh, this will be a funny one for anyone listening that knows what it's like in the infantry. Day to day could have been anything. Could have been sweeping. Could have been cleaning weapons. Could have been non-teching, so I guess like checking up on weapon systems or machines and make sure they were okay, signing off on them, which is scary. And ironically, we're on an engine or a motor enthusiasts podcast. I know nothing about cars, so too about construction. And then that could probably lead into weaponry because up until when I got to Kapuka, I'd never held a weapon. So there was a time where we were going through weapons training, and they gave us like these little plastic rounds, sim rounds.
Yep.
Pull the trigger, nothing's going to happen. But I was too scared to pull the trigger in case of what would come out.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know, I'd never done it before. I'd never held a weapon before, which was kind of odd to hear someone that had joined the army say that. But joining the army was one of the things I wanted to do for an adventure. I couldn't see myself going to uni at the age of 18. Well, I tried actually, and it just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
I wanted to travel to do something interesting, and a good mate of mine had actually joined the army, and I was speaking to him, and he said, his words to me were, it's like a football club on steroids. And, you know, I'd played footy my whole life, and I loved that culture, the camaraderie. I thought, well, I always had an inkling I wanted to do something in the army, and I thought that was it. There was a lot of talk about Afghanistan, and it sounds silly, but for an 18-year-old, 19-year-old, I wanted to go to a war zone. I wanted to see what it was like. I wanted to experience it and just be put in those situations. And fortunately, you know, I passed all the recruitment tests, aptitudes, probably didn't do that well.
Infantry, mate.
Yeah, I made it into
Point and shoot.
Yeah,
that way.
yeah, I think there's like a saying. It's like, you know, I can't spell it, but I can lift it.
I like that.
Yeah, so I could lift it. Got me in, and I loved it. It was fantastic. I was speaking to a mate of mine last week who I hadn't spoken to in years, and this is a testament to the relationships you have in army. We were saying how, you know, we were so simple. Life was simple. If you needed to move your life in one day, you could pack up all of your items in a backpack and maybe like a dive bag, put it in your car, and go. All of our possessions was just literally what you could see here. We had no responsibility in terms of family, you know, children. We had girlfriends, or some were married, but most of us were young guys that were earning peanuts, traveling the world with their mates, and it was fantastic.
What does it take to be an infantryman? What are you getting taught? What's your mindset? What are they teaching you and programming you to do?
I think the foundations or the belief systems of integrity, discipline, respect, honesty, teamwork, courage, they're the core values. And once you build on those, it's learning the skill sets of weaponry, navigation, medical, communications through radio, operating, I guess, not basic equipment, but operating at a basic level in terms of the armoured personnel carriers or the bushmasters or the assemblies that you would attach to weapon systems, understanding the ins and outs of those, and then how to apply that skill set in a real-time environment or outfield training. So understanding all of those and doing it so where you would be able to strip and assemble a weapon blindfolded. I could do it, but not at a good standard. There were some guys that were absolute freaks at it. But understanding it to that level so that you can do it at any stage of the day or fatigue. I mean, so much so that if I was to close my eyes, much like everyone that's gone through the infantry can go through the drills of strip assemble a weapon safely.
And the mindset that it taught you, everyone I think seen the movies and all that sort of stuff. They're thinking about infantry. You're standing there, someone's screaming in your face. Is it really like that, or what's the sort of what do they do to get you ready for war?
Well, up until the day I joined the army, my mum was making my lunches. Right, so I was an Italian boy, little family man, city kid. That at footy you'd get a spray every now and then, or you get told off. But I remember getting on the bus and getting off a Kapuka thinking, this is going to be easy. And my shirt was untucked, and that was the worst thing I could have done because I was a target straight away. Off the bus, tuck your fucking shirt in. What do you think you are? Who do you think you are? And in my upbringing or my culture, to look at someone in the eye when they're talking to you is respect. But in the world of army or defence force, that's a challenge. And then I got ripped into for looking at someone in the eye when they were yelling at me. So I thought, fuck, well, two things wrong. I haven't even been here 5 minutes.
That fucking Joel Sardi.
Yeah. And that was it. That there's a term, be the grey man.
On the whiteboard.
I was on the shit list. Yeah.
And then instead of later on in your, I guess, your career there, you joined when you were 18, is that right?
19.
When you were serving, sort of what are the moments, sort of the stories, the people, incidents that you still think about? Like, run me through some stuff that shaped you in that. You went to Afghanistan?
Yeah, I went to Afghan. It was, any pivotal memory or moment always came down to like the simple things and doing them well or not doing them well. Whether I don't recall many times, being congratulated or hand on the back, well done, that was really good. A lot of times it was being scolded for doing something incorrectly because it was always about doing everything to the best ability, but also to the crucial detail. So attention to detail has never been my strong suit. And Elisa would laugh when I'm saying this because...
Me too.
Yeah.
Broad strokes.
Yeah. Which unfortunately doesn't align well with being a really good soldier. But a lot of the times, right, and they're good lessons now, right, that I've carried through is doing everything to have a good attention to detail. But I guess some of the memories, the core memories were on maybe some on deployment, the memories of little Afghani kids being so happy to give them a pen, or to have a family or a village be so grateful that they have fresh running water. Other stories whilst being in training in Australia, the mateship, the camaraderie. Some of the best memories were the worst times we had outfield or we had together, and I guess what is it, like trauma bonding is there's a phrase there, and there was a lot of that. And my best mates now, we could think about something that happened back in 2011 or 12, and what are we, 14 years ago, and we can still think about that day or the preparation or the pain that we went through and the fun part of it now. Spicy
time to be in Afghanistan at that time. So what was it 2011, 2010?
2013 we were over there,
Yeah. Interesting time, I guess. And obviously it's come a long way. Well, ups and downs, left and right, so that whole thing. And I've got a couple of mates who are over there as well, and a tough place to be, right? Complex, strategy wise was it changed many times. Australian Defence Force and their role and SF and that were, I think I was sort of doing a bit of research. Obviously, the US were doing a lot of nighttime operations, Aussies were doing a lot of daytime stuff, and it was just a bit left your head scratching a little bit, right?
Look, the strategy behind it I couldn't probably speak to, but I do know that there was a bit of frustration from the Special Forces community because they were instructed not to do things at night, which impeded their ability for element of surprise. But I'm not even going to pretend to speak to their world because it's disrespectful and I know nothing of it. But I know our role whilst we were over there was to be guardian angel for any, I guess, dignitaries or anybody going into an Afghan environment or the Afghan Army's environment and advising them how to do their role at a standard where they could have a functional military. And our role was to make sure we were to not minimise but remove any threats. And if we could anticipate anything or see anything arising, we'd say, all right, we got to go. And we bring them out and take them back to camp, their base or their room, which is...
So these were Afghan National Army, or was that
VIPs
as well?
I was looking after an American, and she would be going to meetings in Kandahar airfield or into their base in Kandahar and just advising them how to do their job.
Yeah.
And my job was to protect them because up until that time there'd been quite a few incidents where Australian soldiers had been killed. Friendly forces had been shot at by people posing to be Afghan forces who were obviously Taliban, and our job was to make sure that didn't happen.
Tough. And so any memories that stick with you where obviously, you know, the stress levels would have been pretty high and pretty hairy moments, right?
Yeah, I think also the shit people that were leading us in terms of people in my groups, then also the really good people. Some of the greatest leaders that I've ever witnessed were in those moments. And then also on the other side, like I said, the really poor people, and there's no point naming them, but they're great examples of who to be, what to be, and what not to be, and who not to be.
What did you take out of that experience in Afghanistan? What did it leave you with?
Oh, what did it leave me with? I knew nothing of the world. Knew nothing of the world. And the world is a huge, huge place. You know, water's wet, fire's hot. The world's a big place. I didn't realise that until I travelled there, until I just saw the different cultures and the way that certain things were accepted in some cultures, and in our culture we would send people to prison for. Yeah.
When you left, were you, I know it's a silly question, but I think about this, I'm like, were you happy to leave or did you want to stay? Did you feel like you got something done?
Oh, it was very hard to see, I guess, our impact in terms of what we had achieved. I was probably looking forward to leaving because we'd been there for 8 months at that stage. But I do recall when we got home, I made a comment to Elisa and my mum being like, oh, geez, I wish I was back over there because I felt like I was out of place being back in society here in Australia, because over there it was a case of wake up, do your job, and that was it. Don't worry about anything else. And we did that for 8 months. It was quite normal. We knew who was going to be there, the uniform we were wearing, the smells, the environments, and then to come back home and you've got the media, you've got roads, you've got bills, you've got laws and all these other things that I abided by laws over there as well.
Yeah.
But, you know, when you come back here, there's just everything thrown
Speeding
at
tickets,
you.
you know.
Yeah,
like
just
parking
simple
tickets.
shit like that. Yeah. Yeah, parking tickets. I remember we got back and I picked up my brother from the train station. There was some PSOs that were walking around. And the whole time we were over there, we were doing pistol drills and, you know, and leading up as well in Afghan, really trying to master them. And we were nowhere near mastering them, but we were really proficient. And they were a really dangerous weapon system unless you were using them extremely carefully and really safely. And then I remember we got back and then we saw some PSOs walking around the station. I looked at them and they were carrying pistols. And I thought, man, how do you guys get those?
Yeah.
Like, are you anywhere near trained? No, probably not. But there they are carrying them in society. And that was one of my moments of thought, okay, I probably need to change my mindset here because you're not overseas anymore. Like you're in Australia, you're living in Melbourne. Change the way you think. And there's some of the moments where I realised, okay, I need to start adapting a bit better, a bit quicker.
How did the communication, how did you sort of like, you know, get on did you have a video call with Alyssa and be able to do all that sort of stuff? And was it easy to sort of switch on, switch off there, or did you find it hard?
I don't think switch on, switch off is the right way, but it was definitely, there was a way to communicate with people back home. We're a lot more fortunate in that regard with technical capabilities, be able to speak to people back home.
And what was your day-to-day sort of operation over there? Like what, again, going back to a Thursday, what was an average Thursday looking like for you in Afghanistan?
I think Thursday was taco day at the mess.
Okay. Good day.
We were lucky to be on a base that was mainly controlled by the US. So their mess was renowned to having the messes where you go to eat. They had incredible food options. And that was a real highlight of my day back then, some of the food we got to eat. But it would never be the same. It would be routine if you're on base and you knew what you were doing. I think Fridays we got a half day or we got a late start, but for the rest of the week it was normal. Monday through Sunday, whatever it may be, it was do your job.
I hear they had a Burger King or something like
that.
Yeah, it's a pretty common thing. It's like you've accomplished warfare when you've got a shipping container you can fold out into a.
There was a TGI Fridays. I remember on the Kandahar airfield, and in the middle there was like this big turf soccer pitch. But there was one of the rooms I ate at, so one of the restaurants I ate at, that were manned by like a local Afghani employment agency or group. And I was so hungry, and I knew they did like this lamb knuckle, and it was on a bed of yellow rice, and I was wrapped. I was getting stuck into this thing, and as I was getting to the last bits of the bone, I grabbed it to try and crack it open to, get the good bits around the bone. And as I did, the bone broke open, and a bit of the bone literally was broken open so I could see inside. And all these little maggots were in there, started crawling out. And I'd already had like maybe 85%, 90% of this meal by this stage. I thought,
might as well finish it.
Oh, no, I definitely didn't. But I thought, what's the next 24 hours look like for me?
Yeah.
There's no food poisoning.
Oh, really?
So I got through it.
Oh, dodged a bullet. Probably wrong thing to say. Now, fast forwarding to, I guess, not fast forwarding, but where you're at now, and I was actually, we talked yesterday, obviously, and you talked to me about what you're studying at the moment, and it actually made me think. Obviously, you've spent over a decade as the fella that's sort of been in the room, getting therapy in many different ways, right? Physical and physically and mentally and all the rest of it. And now you're training or you're studying to be a psychologist?
Yeah.
Correct? Yeah. What made you want to sit on the other side of the chair? What drove you to do that? It's a big shift because you didn't want to go to uni, right?
No, that's right. Yeah, I wasn't ready. Ready. Mentally, I wasn't ready. But the desire to, as you say, go on the other side of the chair, I'm not really sure, but I was just fascinated by some basic psychology and then some philosophy, because early days when I was injured, someone introduced like stoicism, some of the basic principles, and started reading a bit more about it. I understood very little of what philosophy was trying to say, like in the bigger picture, but learned that it was a segue into psychology. And then, being a patient of a psychologist, when I was in the room for so long, I thought this could be interesting. And there was a really good pathway for veterans to study at ACU. So I applied and got in, and I'm in my final, you could say, year, although I've got 2 years to go of my degree. And the intent is to become a registered clinical psych eventually. Not sure in which field, but it would definitely be along the lines of assisting veterans or first responders. I can't really directly target them, I know that, but to be able to help other people would be really powerful for me and a way to give back. But at the moment, I'm really interested in the child psychology, yourself having young boys and having young girls myself. It's fascinating to see they're like a sponge or this bit of Play-Doh that you can mold and understand why the mold isn't fitting into the shape that we want it to fit into and how we can change that. And that at the moment is interesting to me.
Yeah, it is a very interesting space. And I think, I don't want to say flavour of the month with kids, but, everyone talks about their children and their behaviour and overanalyzing and, does my child have ADHD or da-da-da-da, like it's a very emerging space, and it's good because, it's needed. And I think understanding children and setting them up correctly if you can, or helping them early if they do have anything like that, is good. Like my son's got autism and lots of support. And Leah and I have had a massive journey of understanding the that side of things for him, and that's an amazing field. It would be so interesting.
Well, do you feel like I think you said as well, it's not a case of, doesn't matter what the diagnosis is, it's how do we manage it? How do we work with it? How do we mold that bit of Play-Doh into whatever it needs to be to have a good life? Like, do you think it's more important understanding how to cope with it, how to, I guess, manage it?
Well, I think it starts with accepting it first, and a lot of people are in denial, right? So and that can't be my son, or that can't be me, or similar to anything, call it major or not. You've got to accept it in a way to then start understanding it, and then you mold it. Yeah, like every kid's different, every personality is different, everything is different, and it changes. So it's like constant moving target, right? But the idea of getting into that field would be phenomenal. I think it's so young in its field as well. Like not misunderstood, but it's still being understood, and it's got a lot of legs. I reckon that it's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And no knowledge is wasted knowledge.
Yeah.
As somebody told me, knowledge is an easy burden to carry.
It is. It's just getting there is the hard part.
Yeah. Well, I would have said it's a hard part a long time ago, but I think, and this goes for anybody, if you find something you're interested in, naturally you'll be drawn to doing it in your own time, in your spare time, and I find myself doing that. And YouTube's a great resource if you find the right resources. And Elisa is sick of watching like 5-minute tutorials when the girls are in bed on TV about psychology, about the cognitive reframing, whatever it may be. She's like, "Do we have to watch this again? Like, can we watch Below Deck, or can we watch Maths?" Or,
Hey, Maths.
No, she doesn't like Maths.
I can
She
understand
loves
it.
Below Deck.
It's all right. Below Deck, mate, big hit apparently.
Yeah.
I need to get onto that. The girls and that, and so you're now sort of looking at, you're bringing up 2 girls, and the love you have for your girls is awesome. I love it. Right?
Yeah.
And the spin the challenges that you have as a father. We were at your daughter's birthday not long ago, and I loved how you chucked a kid on your knee and just went for a Zoom round, and it's like Joel's hammering around doing hot laps.
Yeah.
It's awesome, right?
Yeah.
And it's a really cool side that I think you've taken there, and that being a father in a wheelchair, it's challenges, right? And bringing up girls, and if you're comfortable, talk about that. How's that been for you?
I'm absolutely comfortable talking about it, mate. Your limitations that you have, you would look at it as the same as I would have my limitations. So to every dad, I just have physical ones. But that's not to say that I can't be a dad in other ways. So because of my injury, I'm limited as to what I can do in terms of, I can't carry the girls on the beach. I can't really swim with them yet until we're both really competent at that. There's a lot of physical limitations, but I can tell you hand on heart that I've been able to be present with them and see first days of kinder, school, dancing, basketball, even the failed attempts at karate, whatever it may be. I've been there for those, and I can remember those, and I can't ask for more than that. I mean, I'd love to be able to carry them on the sand, as that example I gave you, but I can't. So get over it, move on. But what I can do, I've given them their own little experience with me. And as Luna, our youngest, says, she wants to go on an adventure. To reset after some behavioural challenges, she'll jump on my lap and we'll go for a cruise around the block. Listen to the birds, listen to the cars, touch the leaves. What can we hear? What can we smell? And that little adventure, as she calls it, is like, that's our own thing. And so too with Esme when she was younger. And I picked the girls up from kinder, and there's almost a line of kids at this little park near the kinder. Can I go for a lap? So they sit on my lap and we drive around the park and get back, and there's another 4 kids lining up to do it. And these kids are only 3 or 4 years old, and they don't see me as like a dad with disability. They just see me as Esme or Luna's dad. And that to them is normalising disability. That's normalising what I can do for them. And like, my shoes are never dirty, so that's another great thing about being in a wheelchair. Never have dirty shoes, except for when the kids jump on them to climb up on my lap.
Well, just keep your collection nice and clean.
Yeah, as much as I can.
And then I guess going back to your degree and how that's changed everything for you, perspective wise, has it helped you process things, recover, like understanding the mechanics behind how your mind works? Have you learnt things along the way?
Yeah, a little
whilst
bit.
training?
Yeah, a little bit. I find it more fascinating applying it to others because I feel as if I've kind of worked out the way I think. If I didn't work it out by the age of 35, then I've kind of not been concentrating on myself. But it's being able to listen to read theories or read, I guess, science, and then apply it to as Mayan learners, like the little lab rats, not test things out on them, but be able to look at a theory or an attachment style and think, I wonder if that's this, and if we to tweak the way that we speak to, or at times how we speak to them, if it changes the outcome, change the antecedent, change the outcome, and I find it more fascinating applying to others in my life.
Not your own sort of recovery. You're saying that's you're sort of processing that day to day, but this is more understanding. Are you doing this to sort of understand your children better, or like what's the motivation for it?
Look, I think it's the desire just to learn more. Yeah, just to learn more because I'm ready to.
Now, where do you see yourself in 5 years with that? What's your
5 years from now?
What does the work look like for you in that space?
Well, in 5 years from now, it's not a what if because I've got it planned, but the intent is to be registered. I don't know if I'd be able to have my own clients by this stage, but I do currently work for the Department of Veteran Affairs, and I'd love to move across to Open Arms, the counselling service of DVA, and be able to have a leading role there in some capacity.
Yep.
Because to be able to say that I'm a veteran, I have disability, I've also been a recipient of Open Arms services when I needed it. So I've got a unique experience to bring to the table. And then also, if I could also practice, then great. That'd be great.
Yeah.
So in 5 years from now, which I think would be an accurate estimate of when I would be able to get registered, would be maybe around then.
On the DVA, I think it makes a lot of sense for you to be involved in that. Obviously, the impact you can have and the help you can bring is amazing. And I'm like, I just think they're lucky to have you if they could.
Thanks, mate.
Right. And obviously, I just want to lay this on you and talk about this too. Hopefully, you're all right with it. But I want people to sort of know this, and I'm going to read some stuff here. Between 97 and 2021, there are 1,677 confirmed suicides among serving and ex-serving ADF members. It's a lot, right? Around 20 times the number killed in combat over the same time. In 23, 73 deaths, suicide across permanent reserve and ex-servicing personnel. Servicing members carry 30% higher suicide risk than comparable Australian men. And for the infantry, so your role, it's roughly 153% higher. And the kicker, about 86% of those who died had used a health system or service in the year before their death, and that system saw them and they still passed. That's heavy, man. Like it's something I've felt passionate about for a long time, and my mates are in this, come out of the Defence Force as well. And what's your response to that? And what does that tell you where the system's at and where it's been and where it's going?
Well, the statistics would say that, and I've got to be careful here how I speak. The statistics would say that a lot of people were let down, and I'm speaking on behalf of what was found in the Royal Commission into Defence of Veteran Suicide.
Yep.
Personally, I feel that I can assist a lot of people with what I could do at the level I'll get to. There is also a lot of research being conducted into brain injuries from overblast pressure and CTE, and how that manifests, and so too in a lot of combat sports. The Defence Force has a lot of the same environments, so environmental situations that would see the brain receive like compounding injuries. So I think the next 10 years are going to be a big conversation around overblast pressure and what CTE looks like and what that's done to the veteran community.
Yeah.
But the commission was absolutely required into veteran suicide because, yes, the numbers were considerably higher.
Yeah.
But again, it did display that the system had let people down and things needed to change,
Yeah.
which have been changing.
Yeah. And I think that the big sort of story or tale is that, yeah, the Royal Commissioner did hand down a lot of recommendations, right? Like over 100. And I think the big outcome that's positive here is that they've created a new body to sort of handle that, right? Or sort of they're working on a plan dedicated to suicide prevention, right? And that's something that is if you can't fix it, let's start it from the ground up, build it from the ground up, which is a massive thing to do, and so worth it, right?
I think it's the suicide prevention workforce, which is one of the capabilities, and that was off the back of one of the recommendations. But I think it's also a case of treatment first. There's a lot of veterans who will go through the process, receive their diagnosis, receive incapacity points, whatever it may be, and then get a lump sum payout. And that lump sum, in my opinion, is sometimes worse than anything you could give a veteran who's vulnerable, that doesn't have financial literacy, that doesn't understand what to do with a large sum of money when they are feeling the way they are. What the veterans need is treatment first, which is what the Department of Veteran Affairs is moving to, is treatment first. And then let's discuss or let's work out how to compensate the veteran as they need to, as they have earned it and they've rightfully earned it. What does that look like?
Yeah. And I appreciate it's a very sensitive subject, especially for you being in the DVA and working with it. And I think it's something that, look, I've got a lot of love for my mates and the Defence Force. And I think especially as of late, the whole front to back of it, the Defence Force and the people and the service personnel is taking a bit of a beating recently, with sort of a lot of things. And by the way, if you don't talk about this on or off the record, you don't have to. No. But it's I'm pretty passionate about this subject, and I think, not being in the detail, just being a humble taxpayer, and having mates involved in it, I think they should be getting so much more support. And it is and it's typically always been this way, a very underloved, underappreciated role and job. And then coming back from Afghanistan and adapting, and there are so many things psychologically that don't get addressed. And I really hope the support does get better, and it really makes me motivated that that's something that you're working towards. I think that's really honourable. So it's good. It's good that there's some changes, and I think the Royal Commission I'm glad they did it, and I think moving forward and sort of focusing back on you, I think it's awesome that you're going to get involved and do this. And who better to teach and show these guys who need support and help and, mindset shifts, if anything, being on the ground doing it. I think that's, mate, that's awesome. And I'm excited for you and excited for the people to get your help, because I think you've got a lot to give, a lot to give.
Thanks, mate. I don't know everything, but I'm willing to go into any room and listen to a family, listen to a veteran, and listen to not their problems, their challenges. Yeah. And then truly understand what they need.
I want to move to a few more questions before we finish, mate. And this has been awesome. A few weeks back, you pulled a DVD out of the box.
I did, yeah.
All right, and you put it up on Instagram, and I saw that. And you're asking people, should I watch this or not? And to sort of explain to the audience what that was, I guess you thought at the time that it was security CCTV footage of your fall, right?
Yeah, I thought it was the CCTV from 2014 where I broke my neck. So funnily enough, no devices can actually play CD anymore. No, it had nothing.
Was it a DVD or a CD?
DVD. DVD. DVD, right? So we get it, and I was really excited because we were packing our shed up, and we found this file of, I mentioned before about the envelope of documents from our medical history, and in there was this DVD and it had on there Joel Sardi files. We thought, beautiful. We can finally put to bed how I broke my neck.
Yep.
Exactly, because we're going to be able to see how it happened. So we get the DVD. We don't have a DVD player. So we have to go to JB, get the DVD player, converter, blah, blah, blah,
You're
blah, blah.
investing in this, that's it.
Yeah. Spend a bit of money in this. And there was a lot of talk about should we watch it, shouldn't we? And from my understanding, it was like, I've got the people around me now. I don't need to worry about it. I can watch it and I'll be fine with it. Plug it in, open up. It's just PDF files, Adobe files, whatever it may be, Word. And there was no multimedia file in there. So I was pretty disappointed. And funnily enough, or maybe the world sends us messages if you want to look at it that way, there was a game of football on that day. It was Collingwood-Melbourne, and Brody Mychek was actually tackled into the ground, and he sustained a spinal injury. Not spinal cord, but spinal. And watching him on the ground and his head was on the grass and he was trying to say something, I had these flashbacks to when I had my injury, and I remembered what it was like, and I kind of lost it a bit. And I thought, ooh, maybe I didn't need to see the footage of when I actually hurt myself. So I've sort of put it out there now. I'm not going to watch it. I won't watch it for a while, or maybe I won't watch it at all. But that was the DVD we blew the dust off, or 12 years after the fact. So thank you, Brody Mychek, for maybe giving me a moment of clarity.
And mate, that was a scary moment, and I'm a D's fan, and it was for both teams, given the love for that guy.
Yeah, I heard he said to Billy Frampton that I'm stuffed here. His words were, "I'm stuffed here," and that was out the side of his mouth. And hearing that there,
that's true.
Hearing him recount that was chilling.
Yeah,
because that's the moment where you actually realise, like, clarity of mind. My body's not actually working.
Yeah,
and that was chilling to hear that. So.
Yeah. And I guess the thing is, though, mate, regardless of if you saw that or not, I just think what resonates with me was, I think the next story you put up there was you and the missus sitting there ready to watch it or opening it. It was sort of like it was everyone was there sitting there with you, and you didn't know what you were going to see, but you were willing to look anyway, right? And I think that mindset is exactly what I love, and I think that's what's going to echo in everything you do for people in the future. It's really special, and to have your wife next to you, and to do anything like that, to face that, to have a brick wall to go either around, adapt and overcome.
Yeah.
I think that mindset's awesome, and you should be bloody proud of it, mate. That was regardless of the outcome. Obviously, maybe it was a blessing in disguise. But I respected that. That was ballsy, and you should be proud of just attempting it, mate. That's unbelievable. Mate, before I let you go, is there anything you wanted to say that I guess I didn't ask or didn't touch on? As I said, I came into this fairly.
No, you've done.
I had an idea, but I know you're doing a lot of good things for the DVA, and there's this subject is. Oh, it's a tough one because a lot of people don't know how to sort of ask questions, or should I ask, should I not?
You should. You should always ask. Be curious, because the more you are not curious, the more you make assumptions, the further we are, I guess, ostracized, or the further we are marginalized as people with disability from people who do not have disability. And the reality is 1 in 5 people have disability, and you've done a great job of asking me questions, just unfiltered, going in not knowing it, and asking questions is great. No bias, because we all have unconscious bias, but to ask questions and remove the curiosity is the best way for people to become more aware, more confident around disability, because it's a part of society. 1 in 5 Aussies have disability, whether it be visible or not. So for anyone listening, ask questions. You've done a great job of doing that.
Thanks, mate.
I mean, to open up the podcast about tell us about your morning, I could have gone into a lot more detail, but I won't, because your listeners might be eating when I'm telling this story. So I won't go into too much detail. But
well, I think it's important, and again, I know you've taught me a lot about it, and even in this hour, and it's. I think again, people might see barriers to asking you questions, or barriers to this, or barriers to that. Like I think the world needs to learn a lot more about disability. And and I was going to crack a joke before. I was like, how good's having a disabled spot you can put on your car? But how good's that? But then how good not is that? It's not great either.
Good to have it. It's good having it. Trust me, it's good.
You get your own little valet park. But I saw your video the other day, like the awareness of councils and builders, like, you got out of your van, which we haven't touched on either, which I think is cool. But you got out of your van and you went to go up onto the sidewalk, and there's no ramp, there's no cutout. Yeah. Like, they've made a disabled spot accessible, but you can't get on the sidewalk.
Yeah, there was just curb the whole way across instead of there being a break for a ramp.
And you've just smashed over.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, we'll get you some bigger mud tyres.
I think one of those would be good.
Two of them would be right. We'll ask Frosty. Mark Winterbottom for that.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot more room to be understood here and a lot more to learn. And I think I agree. And I'll be honest with you. Last night I wanted this to go really well, and I sort of woke up in the middle of the night, and I'm thinking, shit, does the elevator up work? And I haven't tested that, and I was thinking, shit, are the door frames wide enough for you? Like, these things I do not think about, and this is honestly raw unfiltered me, and I was like panicking. I'm going, shit, I haven't thought about this. And I think the world for yourself and for everyone, just to stop and think about this stuff a little bit more, it's beneficial. Like, it's got to happen, right?
Yeah, and the best thing you can do is, hey mate, what accessibility preferences or requirements do you have?
Yeah.
And what can we do to make this a more enjoyable or an easier experience? And if you what I've found is that there's nothing that exists that is absolutely accessible. But what is a person's ability to be fluid and be like, all right, what can we do here?
Yeah.
You didn't fit in the lift, so let's just have a job interview downstairs. Let's conduct this at a different venue. Or, hey, look, do you mind if we just help you get up that little lip? Because we haven't been able to get over that. We don't have a bathroom here, but I've spoken to the cafe next door and they're willing to let you use that, or they're happy to let you use that. There's always a way around a physical or an inaccessible situation.
Yeah.
Always.
Again, adapt and overcome, mate.
Always. Yeah.
Final thing, we'll obviously spread your contact info and all the rest of it, but how do people get in touch with you, mate? Obviously you're doing corporate talks and you're working with the DVA and all that sort of stuff. And we're doing a session with our team, the team today, which I'm really excited. Everyone's really excited about. Where do people find you? And for someone, I guess, also flat out in their life, what's the sort of 1% that someone can do for military personnel or something? If there's anything, or for in the world of accessibility, like, if there's one thing that someone could do differently to help, what could they do?
Well, okay, so one thing you can do differently, I wouldn't say one thing, but something you can probably implement, let's just say, into your email signature.
Yeah.
What accessibility preferences or requirements might you have?
Yeah.
And that's not discriminating to people that have disability, that may have a military background, that have trauma, that have any specific requirements. Put that in the bottom of your email subject signature. Accessibility preferences or requirements. They can answer it. They don't have to. And I think that just shows that you're willing to accommodate someone that has unique needs, or that just has a specific requirement to sit, or preference to sit in a certain place, whatever it may be. Or food requirements, it could go to that. For someone that wants to find me on Instagram, Joel Sardi.
Love it.
Nice and easy.
Get you in. And we're looking forward to our little session today, mate. Thanks for coming on and being honest, raw, and mate, I appreciate it. Thanks,
mate. Let's get some lunch.
Let's do it.
Cheers.
Thank you.